I'm Troy Kirby with a quick look at the 2022 Washington State legislative session. The Senate Labor, Commerce, and Tribal Affairs Committee heard public testimony on SB 5891 concerning warehouse distribution centers and employment standards.
One of my basic concerns is the definition of who is in and who is out here. And I'll let you know that this bill was modeled on some legislation in California, and the definition has been taken from them, but the sponsor here has a desire to narrow that definition. And Mark, I understand why you're so interested.
It was a great explanation of the bill. My only concern was he was doing really well till he told me it was modeled after a bill in California. So
thank you for allowing me to speak briefly about AB 701. That's the California bill that was signed into law by Governor Newsom this past fall, and it's very similar to the bill that's moving through committee today. The Teamsters were incredibly proud to co-sponsor AB 701, which came in response to the massive growth of e-commerce over the last few years. Of course, this change in the economy has impacted working conditions of warehouse and logistic workers across our state, and frankly, not always in a positive way.
I am testifying today in support of Senate Bill 5891 because it will provide transparency and clear expectations for employees working in these systems in warehouse distribution centers. I call them DCs, under these quotas or performance standards. This truly is an important worker protection. These unchecked, mismanaged, poorly designed performance standards in these DCs force workers in these systems to cut corners to meet unclear and ill-defined quotas.
The biggest shift works all night. I got home at 6 this morning. Night shift work is common in the industry. In addition to the physical demands of the work, dealing with shifting sleep schedules, overtime, and flipping your sleep schedule on your days off so you can see your family is tough.
Everyone at our facility works on a standard. We are open 24/7. In addition to produce and dry grocery, we also have a frozen department. Our production standard is based on the amount of time it takes to do different work functions throughout the day. Some of the functions that are measured include lifting, building pallets, and wrapping. Every part of my job is timed down to fractions of a second. The company knows how long it takes to build every kind of order I'm asked to fill. If I'm unable to build my order within the range of time that it is assigned, I won't make standard.
There is a requirement by every employer in the state of Washington to either have a safety meeting or a safety committee. If you have more than 10 employees, you must have safety committees, not safety meetings. So this law does nothing that isn't already required. The frequency of those committees is determined by the committee to determine who should, how frequent they should vote. As a requirement of safety committees under WAC 296-800-13020, you must have more employee elected members on the safety committee than employer appointed members.
The definitions of who is in this bill and not in this bill are somewhat confusing and tie back to questions, I think, from Senator Schessler earlier. It's pretty clear that 100 or more employees or 1,000 or more employees or more warehouses are involved in the bill, and the NAICS codes seem to encompass the entire retail sector. But then it goes on to state, and I quote, that all employees of an employer and its affiliates must be counted in determining the number of employees at one or more distribution centers. Honestly, Madam Chair, I'm not sure what that means. Does that mean a retail chain with more than 1,000 employees, but maybe a small distribution center is covered under the bill? I just simply pose that as a question.
We do see that this bill creates a new requirement for an employer, as defined, to disclose if there is a quota for an employee, and and it says that quota may not interfere with existing rights of a worker. So the conversation that this duplicates rights, well, no, it refers to existing rights that workers have in both the safety and health arena and their right to meal and rest breaks. So what it does is it says if a worker is being held to a quota, that worker needs to be notified of that quota and if there are changes to the quota.
I just want to say, as a union, we are committed to defending the traditionally middle-class jobs of this industry, not only for our members, but for all working people. And on the legislative front, that means jumping in and getting engaged in efforts like what SB 5891 is trying to address. The bill cracks down on abusive hidden quotas that Amazon and other employers use. And due to the safety and health risks brought on by these quota systems, action is needed by lawmakers to protect working people.
You know, I mean, it's been fairly well reported nationally that warehouses that use this model, kind of most famously by Amazon, have registered workplace injuries that are at a 50% higher rate than other warehouses. And, you know, there's a kind of a well circulated Forbes article that outlines some of that research. And then the time loss rate is 80% higher than their competitors. And unfortunately, in Washington state, it has not been much better. Between 2014 and 2018, the workers' comp premium for warehouses nearly tripled, despite the number of claims for non-Amazon warehouses going down during the same period.
Thank you for watching the 2022 Washington State Legislative Session.